for my presentation? Oh, who was here for my presentation last year? That's what I want to know. If you don't mind, put that in the poll. So, oh yeah, here it comes.
Okay, we'll give that a minute for everybody to answer the question there.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm asking, as you're answering the question, I'm asking because I started with a piece of information, or I guess a concept, an idea that's mine. I'm hoping to write a book about it someday. I keep saying every year that that's my goal. So most people were not here last year. Okay, that helps me tremendously. All right. So I'm hopefully putting this in black and white really soon, but it's an idea that has grown out of this space of talking about codependency. And I presented on it last year when we talked about codependency, and you're going to see probably my eyes moving because as I switch slides, I'm moving my window of people over. But let's just say this real quick. Objectives for today, which you probably already read, but I want to increase the awareness and the connection between childhood trauma and, oh heavens, hold on, let me go back. Previous. All right. Between childhood trauma and current relationships. Okay, that's my goal, which I know a lot of you already know that, but know a lot about it, I should say, but I'm hoping to present it to you in a different way today. Demonstrate a new thought process around toxic relationships. I'm going to talk about when sick meets sick. That's another one of my concepts that I've developed over the years. And then also, which is kind of, why we're here, that's laying the groundwork on the mental health side to then say, what does Jesus say about toxic relationships? I can't wait to tell you guys how this has all come up. So that's our goal for today. And I hope that you can see that in everything we're doing. So I have 3 things that I want to cover. The first one, what highly dysfunctional and addicted families don't do well and how it leads to toxic or codependent. Okay. The second one, toxic relationships are about mental health. It is about mental health. And I know we know that sort of peripherally, but I want to really bring it to the forefront and hopefully present it in a new and different way for you. And I'm going to talk about when sick meets sick. And then we're going to say what Jesus said about it. All right, let me give you a quick disclaimer, okay? So, I'm a therapist really at heart. That's what I love. That's what I've been trained to do. That's the teacher in me, is the therapist. If you don't have a therapist, would you please get one? If you don't have one, you need it. And I'm not saying that because, I'm biased, because I am biased. I'm acknowledging that I am biased. But if you are in the helping profession, you are going to be triggered by clients. You are going to be triggered by people that you come in contact with. You are going to be skewed. You are going to be skewed or sort of slanted towards your untreated trauma or the things that you have not dealt with. So if you don't have a therapist, I hope after today, you will heavily consider it. And if you have a therapist, good for you. We're on the same team. I'm proud of you. Okay. That is important. Okay. The other piece that's really important to this is a lot of the presentations that you probably hear are about how you help other people, right? Because I'm an LPC too. We do so many CEUs every 2 years and turn it into the state. And most of the time it's about other people. Today, I want you to focus on you. Today, I want you to hear this information and I want you to let it simmer. I want you to let it sink deep. And I want you to say, where am I in all of this information? And my hope is, and this is where the bulk of my feedback came from last year, my hope is that this is a motivation that if you don't have a therapist, you're going to go get one, but also that you will help people in a more well-balanced way. You will be able to set boundaries. You will be able to do all of the things that therapists and us in the helping profession need to do with our clients, with our people that we love, you know, all of that. It'll be easier for you to do that if you will let this information sink in and say, how is this me? How do I relate to other people, you know, from my past? A lot of times I talk about like, it's like a rolly bag full of crap, you know, like it's a airport bag that you're dragging everywhere. And it is, and your stuff is in there. But the thing is if you will step into a space of saying, I'm going to get better, I am going to work through this stuff, you can take this suitcase and put it up on a table and unzip it and start unpacking your stuff. And then you're going to be a more well-balanced, healthier person, both emotionally and mentally. So let today be about you, okay? Because everything else we do is about everybody else. And sometimes we just have to stop and do something for ourselves. And so I hope that you can let that sink and let it impact you deeply, so that you do something different moving forward. And like I said, that was the bulk of the feedback I got last time I spoke, was a lot of people, you know, okay, I'm ready to look for a therapist. And then also, you know, just giving me feedback, which I love to hear. And then, you know, me being able to respond to people and help people get to where they need to go. Eric, I was going to say just really quick, I cannot keep an eye on the chat. Is there any way that you can keep a watch on that and like stop me if I need to address something? Because you're more than welcome to stop me at any point.
Yes, that'll be great. And actually,
Great.
Kim and I'll help at the end. And
Okay.
if anybody has questions, feel free to use the Q&A box, and that way we could read off the questions to her. For the ones that are seeing a recorded presentation, you won't be able to see the question. So that'll work out really smooth at the end. So.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. I don't have much time. Okay, so highly dysfunctional and addicted families do not do these 4 things well. Feelings, truth, vulnerability, and responsibility. Okay, let me briefly describe each one of these things. So when I say highly addicted and dysfunctional families do not do feelings well, what I mean is they don't identify them, they don't accept them or allow them. It's that family that says, I'm fine, everything's fine. We don't talk about our things. We don't go outside the family. We don't identify it. Or you've got the families that the only feeling that's acceptable is a positive feeling, like happy or joy, but sad, mad, frustrated are not allowed. So highly dysfunctional addicted families don't do this well. In fact, most of them don't even know how to name a feeling. Okay, so this is an important piece to what I'm about to jump to next. Truth. What I mean by truth is exactly what you think, right? It's people telling the truth, but it also means predictable. It also means that when there's one situation that looks like this, that the next situation that also looks like that is going to be treated the same. Okay, so imagine, imagine a family with an alcoholic mother, and they're not sure which mother is coming through the door, after work or home from something. And so everybody's like trying to keep an eye or check on, how's mom? What are we stepping into? Kind of like taking a temperature. So truth is truth. It is about being honest and open, but it's also about predictability, that what you expect is what you're going to get. Vulnerability is number 3. I think we all know vulnerable, but vulnerable to me means that I am willing and able to show my true self. Like the person that I am is the person that you see, and I'm willing to let you in. So it's a little bit of transparency and, a lot of not being afraid of being who you are, and letting those parts show, even the parts that are less desirable. And then 4, responsibility. And this is probably my favorite one, because most highly dysfunctional and addicted families do not put responsibility on the right person, on the person that it actually belongs to. So many of you, if not all of you, have heard, the scapegoat. You've got the kid that gets blamed for everything, or, somebody, your child gets in trouble at school, and instead of dealing with the child, you blame the teacher, right? So it's a constant shift in responsibility. And what I've found over the last, 18 years of working with people in therapeutic settings is that these families don't do these things well. And then what we do is we carry the rules and roles. That's another idea that I don't have time to talk about, but it's something I've developed over the years, where families have rules, spoken, unspoken, written, unwritten. And then we have roles, like a role that you play in your family. But we drag all of this stuff from childhood, and then we recreate it in our current families. So one of my challenges for people is to start unpacking your stuff, your bag, your rolly bag full of crap. Start unpacking it with a professional who can help you process. Because, all right, on to the next slide. One thing leads to another. Not allowing feelings, not allowing responsibility to land where it's supposed to, not allowing truth, not allowing vulnerability, it leads to all of this codependent behavior. It leads to lies, enabling, cover-ups, control issues, rationalization, justification, projection, emotional dysregulation, all the things we know. Okay, but not allowing one thing over on this side creates something over here. Let me give you a super quick example, because I really don't have time for a lot of stories, although I love telling real-time stories. And I tell them on my family. How cool is that? Especially my brother. Shh, don't tell. But I tell a lot of stories about him. Okay, let me give you a quick example. Let's talk about truth. Okay. Several years ago, my daughter was in that developmental age where they start telling little lies to not get in trouble, that kind of thing. And what came out of the whole thing that emerged, what I realized in working with her on the lying and where it was coming from, I realized my part in it, my part in her lying, was that I wasn't creating as safe of a space as I could have for her to tell me the truth. If I want her to tell me the truth, then the responsibility lands on me to provide the environment. Now, back up. Where this comes from is my dad was a drill sergeant growing up. Okay. And typically we gravitate towards one parent in terms of the person that we're most like. And I'm definitely most like him in that way. If I'm not careful, I can be very drill sergeant like, and I can be, I can be angry if I'm just being honest, and I can lose my cool. And so what I realized was part of why she was lying was on me. And so I had to stop and look at why this was happening and what was making her not be able or feel like she couldn't tell me the truth. And at the end of the day, she was right. And that half of the communication is mine. And I'm the one that's responsible for it. So even, in all of this stuff that I've just listed, Yes, it's sometimes about another person, but I'm challenging you today to say, where is this about me? Because that's what makes you a better therapist. That's what makes you a better parent. That's what makes you a better friend, daughter, sister, all the things. Okay. So we have to look at these things when we're looking at toxic behavior. All right, moving on. Here we go. How to recognize toxic. And I'm going to be quick because I feel like y'all probably know most of this. And I really want to save enough time for the end. So where I think this topic meets Christianity is sometimes we have views of what we are supposed to do and be as Christians. And so sometimes the line is blurred in terms of what we think we should do and what what other people need from us, and then our willingness kind of being in the middle. So this is my definition of codependency. Let me move everybody. So I think codependency is a pattern of pervasive and debilitating behavior in which we put another person's comfort over our well-being. Okay, let me say that again. It's a pervasive pattern. Okay, y'all, I'm not saying if you help a grown child, pay a bill, I'm not saying you're being codependent. I'm saying that this is a pattern of pervasive behavior in which you are putting another person's comfort over your well-being. And I would even add to that, you are doing something for them that they can do for themselves. If you are doing for someone who can do for themselves, you might be enabling. And that's what my presentation last June was about. Okay, let's fly through this. So some things, and you'll notice that I have some words in red. That's going to mean something in a minute. You sacrifice yourself to a fault for the other person. You are constantly the one giving, yet it appears as if it's never enough for the other person. The behavior of the other person is impulsive. It can be explosive and with the intent to control you. I think that part's important. They use lies and untruths to keep you engaged. Everything is about them and it's very self-serving. They never apologize or take responsibility for their part. They manipulate you using guilt, anger, lies, and blame. And they flood the conversation with past information or irrelevant stuff. So, we're fighting about this, and yet stuff from 2 years ago gets brought into the argument. Okay. Those are just a few. I couldn't put it on more than 2 slides. So there it is. But I feel like you guys know what that is. Okay. When sick meets sick. So this leads us to, so you've got toxic traits of somebody. Okay. And you're starting to see that. You're starting to see these behaviors. The reason why I put pictures of my kids up. So these are my kids. I have 5. I birthed the little 2. The 3 big ones are my bonus kids. The reason why I put them on here is because this is my prayer for them. My prayer for them is that when if they meet sick, they know what to do. Okay. So when sick meets sick, you got 2 people, and I mean emotionally sick. When sick meets sick, they're off to the races, right? We're talking it's toxic, it's codependent, it's unhealthy, it's abusive, it's entangled, and they can't seem to get out, or don't want to get out, or don't know to get out. So you have to think about what it means when an emotionally sick person meets another emotionally sick person. I think we've all seen it in our practice of how to help people step back and get healthy so that they can view the relationship from a different perspective, right? Okay, this is my hope. This is why I put them up here. My hope is that when healthy meets sick, hopefully healthy is my kids, they go, oh, I really like you, but I really like you, but what I'm seeing doesn't match with what I'm, what I'm hoping to have in a relationship. So you're trying to control me. That kind of feels a little over here. That's not really how I work. I'm an independent person. This isn't going to work for me. I like you, but. So when healthy meets sick, that's the hope, is that healthy says, I like you, but. Sick is going to be offended by that, right? Have we all seen it? Yes. This is where I would have a head nod if I could see you. When healthy meets healthy, for the most part, we hope that that means, at least for my kids, not speaking for yours, but mine is, they love Jesus first, and they're going to operate on those principles because they've seen it at home, hopefully their whole life, right? So they know what they want, and they can find it in another person because they know what they're looking for, because they've seen it, heard it, lived it, watched mom and dad live it, talk it, walk it, all those things. Okay. But if you don't have that at home, it makes it really difficult. But this is my hope for these guys right here, is that when they meet sick, they see it and they can say, I like you, but this isn't going to work. All right. Now what Jesus says about it. I don't have time for the backstory, but it's really good. Two of my dearest friends and I started an organic search of the Bible for what Jesus says about toxic relationships. We started this at the end of last year. It's been absolutely amazing. We've studied independent of each other, and we meet every 2 weeks and we share, and it has been one of the greatest blessings of my life to have these two praying throughout the day, walking through this with me, processing it. And, we're thinking we might write some sort of, Bible study on toxic relationships when we're done. It's really interesting, y'all. It has changed our lives. Okay, let me start with this. When you are unequally yoked, and this was this is the beginning point, because, the Bible talks about people that are in Christ and people that are lost. Okay. And so as we started this search, a lot of what we got before we really started digging was about marriage. And we wanted to learn about toxic relationships that are not our partner. So, our friends or peripheral people we work with, family members, whatever. We wanted to say, okay, but what does Jesus say about that? Because we kind of feel like we know what he says for married couples. So the passage, okay, so I've got it open here. The passage that kicked us off, man, so good, is Psalm 26, 4 and 5. Now, we also, just for those of you who know the Bible well, and Eric, this is where we can ask people, if they want, to type in if they have ever done an organic study of the Bible and toxic relationships or something similar, and what did you find? Please, if you want, you can put it in the chat. But we did not just pull stuff. We didn't just pick a passage and say, this says what we want it to say. We read chapters. We read the context. We made sure that we really understood what it meant. And then as we did that, we did a fearless and moral inventory of self. So those of you who are drug and alcohol people, 12 steppers. This was really important. Although I'm the only one of the three of us in recovery, it was so important for us to say, this isn't about labeling someone else. This isn't about pointing a finger. This isn't about saying I'm better than you. This is not that. What we're doing is we're trying to say, are we toxic people? How are we toxic people? And how can we work to rectify that, to redeem ourselves from that, because of the word, because of what God says? How can we do that? So this isn't just about, well, we want to surround ourselves, with the most perfect people we can find. No, this is about saying, am I living the way God wants me to in relationship with others? And am I protecting myself and my own mental health and the health of my family and all of that? So Psalm 26, 4 and 5 says, I do not sit with false persons, nor fellowship with pretenders. I hate the company of evildoers and will not sit with the wicked. Okay, it goes on. Let me say this. 9, gather me not with sinners, and sweep me not away with them, nor my life with bloodthirsty men. Verse 10. In whose hands is wicked, and in their right hands are full of bribes. But as for me, I will walk in integrity. Redeem me and be merciful and gracious to me, O Lord. My foot stands on an even place. In the congregations, I will bless the Lord. So when we broke that down, what it meant was, and you can see this in my notes, is this says that Jesus hates habitual association with evildoers, that he does not want us to sit with false persons, nor fellowship with pretenders. So we sat with that for a long time, because I think out of everything we've read, I think that has been the most powerful. And the crazy thing is that was the very first verse that was shared by my friend Melissa. That was where she started, was right here. And then everything we've done has kind of come around that. But habitual association, we took a minute to figure out what that meant, because we wanted to understand. And it means association that's over and over and over again with evildoers, that you are staying in it with them. Okay, so that made us say, okay, so now what? So what do we do now? And so it goes on, Psalm 27. I love Psalm 27. I can't read it because we simply just do not have enough time, but you need to go read Psalm 27. And I wrote down in the PowerPoint 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 12, 13, 14, just go read it all. It's amazing. And at the end, it says, wait and hope I can't talk. Wait and hope for expectancy in the Lord. Be brave and of good courage. Let your heart be stout and enduring. Yes, wait for and hope for the expected Lord. So that caused us, my friend Holly started looking at moral courage. What does the Bible say about moral courage? And so that has kind of led us into the next thing. All right. And then please go read James 4, 1 through 5. Hang on. I think I lost my place in James. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I don't have time. But James is really good. And what it starts talking about is it starts listing the behavior that God is saying, stay away from that. And so you've got to go read it. Super powerful. Okay, this is the next part. So you see the red letters? All right. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 5. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable. Man, that's a toxic word if I didn't know it. Slanderous, without self-control. How many times in a toxic relationship do we feel like the other person has zero self-control? Brutal, not loving of good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, just conceited. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance. This leads us back to when he said, don't sit with false persons. Having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. And then here it is. Here it is. Avoid such people. What? Have you ever read that? Avoid such people. Then we dug into avoid. We dug into, what does that mean? We stayed there a long time, and that's a really good discussion. Okay, so I'm going to leave that because I'm trying really hard. All right. See Timothy 2:1, 5 through 7. So good. And this is where he talks about, I'll just read the last part, which I think this is 7. For God didn't give us a spirit of timidity, but a power and a love and a calm and a well-balanced mind and discipline and self-control. Well-balanced stuck with me. I was like, wow, that's interesting that says that in this context, in this topic, a well-balanced mind. Well, what do we have to do to make that happen? That's what I'm saying. Get a therapist, set boundaries, start working through your rolly bag full of crap. You just got to do it. There's no way around it, because otherwise you're not of a mind where you can help someone else, where you can lead somebody to Christ, where you can love a lost friend in hopes that they are going to find Jesus. I mean, this is what we do. But if you're not grounded in all of this, how can you do it? How can you stay sane yourself? Look at John 15. There's another thing we talked about. And there's a whole big thing about this. Seeing the fruit of the vine. Okay, so how do you know? How do you know somebody's a believer or not? This goes back to the beginning of saying you've got to stay in friendship with people that are yoked. You just have to. People that also believe in Jesus, that are striving for that every single day. You have to do it. And this tells us that if you can't see the fruit of their life in Jesus, not the car they drive, not the house they bought, not the vacation they went on. That's not what we're talking about. That's not the fruit we're talking about. We're talking about the fruit of the Spirit, what God gives you, and then you see it in people's lives. Gosh, that was amazing. All right. And then also go to Matthew 7:16 through 22. All right, here's the last part, last slide. In conclusion, and these are questions that I don't necessarily have answers to. Can you be saved and be toxic? Good question. Challenge yourself to an inventory. What I was saying earlier, let this be about you. I hope you let this hour be about you. Get a therapist. We cannot demand of others what we're not doing of ourselves. Isn't that Jesus? Isn't that everything he did? Like, we cannot expect people to be doing the things that we're not holding ourselves to the same standard. Jesus is clear about habitual association. That doesn't mean you don't love the lost. That doesn't mean you don't befriend somebody who needs to hear the word. But habitual association is different. Let that sink in and do something to you. I hope it changes you. Address the trauma. Remember the four things I talked about earlier. That really lead into unhealthy, and then we drag that with us, and then we recreate it in our families, and we recreate it in our relationships as adults. Look at those things. How well did your family do? And then how do you want to make it different for your family now? And then be able to do something about it. Yes, that's a super quick version.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Great job. That was wonderful. Sally was asking, what version were you reading from the Bible?
Yes. I love this. I love, love, love. This is a new Bible that I got. And it is the Amplified version. So the reason why I love this Bible, so I used to have I think it was a King James. And as we started this Bible study and we're all reading the same chapter, and I'm like, wow, mine sounds really different. And I like yours way better because I understand the words. I decided several weeks ago to go get me an amplified version, and it's really changed the way I've been able to interact with the text. But I did have a King James version up until a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think she was looking for the word habitual in King James.
I will, yep. I'll follow up with you, Eric, so that I can send a different set of notes.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
And we will be glad to put that on the Spiritual Care Network website when we post the YouTube video. So if you'd like to see that, go to spiritualcarenet.org.
I have a question from Stephanie Coker. And it is, so if you have an ex-spouse who is toxic and you have a young adult, 19 to 20-year-old, having conflict with them, how do you go about supporting your child with that? Especially since the toxic parent doesn't want to hear the truth about their behavior and still has power over the young adult's life. So in tending to the toxic person's fragile ego, they are required to not be honest.
No, not really though. I mean, I get it. I get that this is dicey. This is hard. This is not easy. Okay. I feel like, I hope you know the first thing I'm going to say. Get your child a therapist. I'm serious. Here's why. They need a neutral third party. They need somebody to help them process through the feelings and the boundaries and the possibilities for what is going to come next. Like, because the thing is, you know, you are not neutral. Like I'm saying, like as the mother, like you are not neutral. Like you were married to this person. And you're the mom. So your feelings are in it, and there's no way to separate that is your child and that this person is hurting your child. There's no way. It's not possible. And so I think that they need a neutral person to help them start processing what the consequences are of telling the truth, what the consequences are of setting boundaries, whether the other person likes it or not. I mean, it doesn't matter what the other person likes. And I know that what I'm saying is difficult. And I know that it seems like in your mind, okay, yeah, but that doesn't really work. No, but it really does. It really does work. So I think they need a neutral person. I think they need to start exploring boundaries with the parent. So I don't know the situation, but I can imagine, I can imagine that it's probably maybe some bullying, maybe some forcing to do things that they don't want to do, or force them to be in relationship, force them to communicate. And that child really needs to find their voice. They really need to find a way to, honor dad as the father figure, but also learn how to set the boundaries that are healthy for themselves. And it's a hard balance, and it's tricky and it's slippery, but I think if you have a neutral person helping you, they can definitely start making headway on how to help almost grown child navigate that. Because here's the other thing, teaching kids how to do this is a skill that they are going to need for the rest of their lives. I mean, we are going to have toxic people in our lives forever and ever. Amen. So they have to learn how to honor themselves, honor God, honor parents, and yet protect mind, protect emotions, set boundaries that are healthy, and then healthy for them, and then be able to follow through with the boundaries, because it's hard and there will be pushback, but you can get there.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at some more stuff.
Okay.
This is, it says Strong's, capital Strong, like capital S, Strong's Concordance, sounds like a book, is great to help with the true meaning of words. It's based on the KJV, King James Version.
Right.
So it's called Strong's Concordance.
Awesome.
That was just given to us by Glenda Wilson.
Okay.
And these are just kind of, some people are just making statements. Encourage the truth and sharing. When you say or do this, it makes me feel right.
Right. But I think before that, what I would just add to that comment is, before that, before you can say, this is how this makes me feel, I feel like you have to have processed your stuff in a way that you are standing firm in what you are going to allow and what you're not going to allow in terms of behavior. So yes, I feel, but here's the thing. If you've got a toxic person, they are going to manipulate you, and they are going to make you feel wrong. And y'all know, they're gonna make it obsolete, like, oh, you're just being dramatic, you're just that, we're minimizing, yada da da da. So what really has to happen even before that is, child needs to be prepared to set the boundary, to say what they need, and then be ready for the fallout of whatever that's going to look like, because a true toxic person is going to fight back. So they've got to be strong enough and centered in what they believe in order to make that statement, and then follow through with what they've said that they're going to do or not going to do.
Awesome. We have one person, Dasha Taylor, is asking, would love to go back to the question, can you be toxic and be saved?
Do y'all want me to answer that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Just, I guess, your perspective, I mean, obviously we all have perspectives,
right.
What your understanding is, what your belief is.
I think that we can be toxic and be saved. Okay. I think that, okay, this is just me. I think that if you are saved, then you, I think in some way it's visible in your life. In some way, I would hope that if you've put your hope and your faith in Jesus, and you believe all the things that he died on the cross, he rose on the, okay, believe all the things, then I think that there are certain displays of behavior that people should be able to see that makes them think, oh, you love Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's necessarily it's an individual question. Like, I can't answer that for you because I don't know your salvation. I do think that you can be saved and be toxic. I also think if you're saved, when you're saved and when you're letting this information sink deep in your soul, then you live your life a certain way. But that's not true, I guess, for everybody. I mean, I guess you can be saved and, live however you want to. And that, of course, someday will be between you and Jesus when you get there. But I do believe that, or I would hope that as Christians, that somebody can look at some part of our life and say, that person loves Jesus. I don't know. That's just what I think. But I know there's probably lots of.
Right.
A lot of great comments too on the chat. So I just want to throw that out there.
Good.
Yes. We are being perfect in Christ. Nothing can take our salvation away / sanctification. We should have the evidence of the fruit of the Spirit, like you said earlier, evidence of us dying to ourselves also. If others cannot see the fruit, then we have to be honest to look to see if we are making Jesus Lord, not just our Savior. And then there's a yes, indeed. So we've got a lot of thought-provoking comments and thought-provoking questions. And that is exactly why we do this. I have to say that toxic to me means sin. And I don't think any of us are going to be without that.
Right.
But maybe just for me, this is a me statement too, not that my opinion matters, but if I just embrace that toxic part of me and I'm not doing anything about it, that's a little bit different than me trying to turn that over and really utilizing my higher power in order to do that, so that the changes are happening and that obviously others can see it, and there's grace there. So
you're saying
a lot.
You're mentioning something that we've talked about, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it quickly. I probably won't, but there's a lot of not a lot. There's enough evidence that says what you practice grows stronger. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you are practicing love and grace and humility and all those things, if you're practicing that, yes, we all sin. We all fall short of the glory of God every single day, all day, no matter what, we fall short. But I think it's what you practice. So I think if you practice toxic behavior, then that's the thing that grows stronger. I think if you practice love and humility and appreciation and grace, and you're not afraid to share the gospel, or you're not afraid to tell a story, or you're not afraid to love somebody that nobody else loves, which is why I love putting people in treatment, because it's the most unlovable moment for most of them that they've ever been in. And I love loving people in that moment. That's also why I love private practice. I love being able to work with people after they come home from treatment, so that I can say, like, I love you in Jesus. How do we help you move forward? Because sometimes nobody else is there to help them. They've burned all their bridges, rightly so, right? Rightly so. But still, somebody has to love them in their most unlovable moment.
Wow, that's a great way to wrap it up, right? That's probably why most people on this webinar do what we do today, is because we love people and we want to help people. And man, this was a great topic. And just like last time, we could go on for a couple hours, I'm sure. Isn't that right?
Yes.
That's why we brought you back, because there's so much good information. This is such a great topic and very popular topic as well. And thank you for all the great comments in the chat box. I do want to bring Lisa Venarella on real quick to allow her to share a little bit more about the Spiritual Care Network membership. Let's see here. Lisa, are you with us? I know you're driving. There we go.
Hey, I'm unmuted, aren't I now?
Yes, you're good. You're live.
Hey, guys, how are you? My name is Lisa Venarella, and I am the Director of Membership for the Houston Spiritual Care Network. I wanted to take a second to tell you a little bit about the different memberships that we have available, and to let you know that I'm going to be following up with each of you after this presentation. At some point this week, you'll get an email, or even maybe early next week. But wanted to tell you a little bit about them so that you have an idea of what you might have your mind on, and if you're interested. So we have three types of membership. One is a ministry membership, and that goes for pastors, maybe music ministers, anyone who works for the church who really would like to join. They come in at the rate of $50. And what that gets you is the same thing. I know that Eric mentioned earlier that we have some technology fees. It takes fees for us to put on certain events. Sometimes someone doesn't step up and host lunch, etc. Sometimes we have to pay for that. And so what that does is these fees for memberships, I should have started with this. These fees for memberships really help to fund and continue to help us, or to allow us to have these great events. It also, I'm guessing, Eric, doesn't that also sometimes go towards us sometimes having to put on for CEUs, et cetera? And sometimes we, depending on, let's say we get a doctor to speak and they say, look, we need a stipend, that kind of thing. So it really does contribute all around to us being able to continue to have these fabulous events via Zoom or in person. So the first is that ministry membership. Like I said, if you belong to a church or you're a ministry of any kind, it's $50. An individual membership is just for one person. That could be you. It's a single therapist. Maybe it's a marketing representative or somebody that works for a mental health facility, and they would like to be a part of it, but your entire organization is not ready to join yet. And that's an $80 fee. And then we have our biggest and best, which is our corporate membership. And we're seeing quite a few of those come through. And that is, it allows every person in your organization to be a part of the Houston Spiritual Care Network, but it also, in Spiritual Care Network across the state of Texas, and anywhere that there are meetings, actually. It also gives you some priorities to hosting events, speaking at events. We are partnering. I talked to somebody the other day that said, you know what, I would really like to do some gender-specific events for women. Can I put those on as a therapist? And they are looking into doing that. I really love that idea. It is completely, every single membership is you can write it off as we're a nonprofit, and we have the paperwork to show it. And so it's tax deductible. In addition, we allow our corporate members to post to our blog that we're starting on our webpage. Maybe you have a clinical director that's really passionate about speaking on or writing about something like self-harm, okay? And they want to write a blog post. They're able to do that on our website, and then it gets posted across our social media as well. Also, your website, logo, and then a little synopsis of what you do as an organization will be posted on our website. Do you have any, did I leave anything out, Eric? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that sounds great. And it does.
If you want to add anything, let me.
Yeah, these do go to conferences, and we're looking at doing the next one on June 3rd in San Antonio, full day conference with great presentations and CEU opportunities. And looks like we're going to try to do one in Memphis, Dr. Arney. So we may be looking for good speakers there in your neck of the woods. So
yeah, so fun. And this is the last thing I'll say, which is so cool. As a part of the Spiritual Care Network, but specifically as a corporate member, we're always looking to fill our calendar for speakers and hosts. We have members that, maybe they're traveling to Austin to do some out.
Whoops. I think we're losing you, Lisa.
Uh-oh.
I know you're driving, but a lot of this information is going to be emailed to everybody that joined today. You should get that in your email tomorrow with a link to join. Also, another link, the important thing, is to do your evaluation and print off your certificate of completion. So look for that email tomorrow, and check the Facebook page for more exciting events coming up. Thank you so much, Dr. Arney and Kim, for hosting today and speaking. And that was a great presentation. We really appreciate it. Thank
you for having me. It's always fun.
All righty.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Y'all have a blessed week.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.